Hello and welcome to episode 8 of I'm Fine, a chat between myself, Damo, and ex-motorbike dispatch rider, Mark.
Pony Express dispatch rider.
Was it? Are they still around?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't realise until after you talked about that, but you got a bike the day you started your job.
Yeah, I got the job on Friday and I went to buy the bike because I was starting on the Monday, but I didn't have a bike when I got the job.
But you had a licence though?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, I'd had motorbikes all the time. But
got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being, fitness, sport, conspiracy, and anything else our weird old brains throw at us. We're all work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. In short, it's a poke at our perfectly imperfect lives, and if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done. How are you, all right?
I'm very good. I'm quite excited about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
One particular aspect.
Exciting. I'm all right, thanks.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm proficient at that.
What, asking how I am?
Yeah, for someone who espouses empathy.
I
think I'm a bit lazy.
Really? You do normally, you just don't on here.
Yeah, you didn't give me much of a chance, to be honest.
No, I don't. I'm just sitting there going, is he going to?
And you actually edited in a silence.
Yeah.
Just to make me look shit.
A dramatic pause.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about I had a nice morning, but I actually had something to... Not that I write all this down. We did joke about that the other day. Yeah. I don't write it all down, but I had a nice morning.
Tell me about your morning.
I went and met a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm. Good friend.
Yeah, very good friend. The singer in our band, Joe.
Love her voice, to be honest.
Very good, isn't it? Hadn't seen her in a while, and the last time we did have a chat, she had to run off, and because we were too busy chatting, she didn't eat her carrot cake, so ended up taking it with her, plate and all.
Yeah.
So we made it a thing that she was going to finish the cake today.
I just have this image that she's with you for about 8 minutes and then just ran off screaming because she'd had enough.
And then came back, grabbed the cake and into the old...
Why does nobody love me? Joe, tell me.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much like, it's exactly how it happens. So that was nice. We had a catch up and a coffee. And so I don't really do that on Saturday mornings, you know?
No.
Wednesday mornings. Where are we? I just had that Graham Norton thing. We'll have to pretend that it's not Friday, you know?
Yeah. We might have to tell our listeners at some stage.
What our secret?
Yeah.
Go for it. We're about transparency and openness, aren't we?
Well, at the moment, and I don't think this will be a permanent fixture because I think life's going to get in the way, but at the moment, Saturday afternoon is podcast heaven. So these go back to back.
Yeah, they do. Which can create a bit of admin, weirdly a bit of admin. I'm always talking about admin. I'm a bit of a bore, but I know. But,
I think one of us has to be because I'm just the flash, humorous, good-looking, innovative one.
The talent.
And you're like the behind-the-scenes one that get a clap at pantomimes. Do you know what I mean? I'm like Jimmy Cricket or Hale and Pace.
Right,
I'm just thinking of pantomime favourites that people in America...
I think we're going to be coming on to references and that show our age in a minute.
Yeah, let's get back to...
That might be one of them. I have heard of those too.
Okay.
I'm not,
big fans.
Yeah. So, sorry, I was too busy forgetting where I was and drinking coffee. We're just having
congratulating yourself, you had a good morning.
Yeah.
Which I'm pleased about.
But it was nice. It's one of those to set you on the right path, doesn't it?
Good.
Coming up, this episode, we're already in it. We're already in the warm up and stretch. We're warming and stretching. In Work Life Ballet, we've got retro suites, moods and music. And in Drop and Give Me 20, we're going to talk about the power of quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Back to where we were. No, it's good to kind of set your day off, right? Isn't it? I think we kind of touched on that the other week. I don't think I do that very well.
Okay.
I don't put something in enough that are things I'd like to do and catch up with.
Okay.
It sets you up, doesn't it? A bit like your breakfast with all the salt on the other week.
Mm-hmm.
That set you up, right? Didn't it?
Yeah. And so maybe going back to what we're saying about celebrating, actually put something in instead of waiting for something good to happen in the day. You've taken. It might not have had the same effect on poor Joe, but
you mean my day went up, hers went downhill rapidly. Very, very likely.
I just noticed your T-shirt is very cactus based. Did that prickle your fancy when you saw it?
No. It's weird. You're one to talk about coincidences, aren't you? I'm saying this slowly because I do this a lot. I don't know, it's just because I've got a tired brain at the moment. But, we have so many conversations in the week.
Mm-hmm.
Things pop in your head. You go, who did I even have that?
Yeah.
Who said that? It's almost like the fleeting nature of social, isn't it? I'll send you. I asked you earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the Wolves third kit? And you went, I sent it you. And I was like, oh God, I don't know what's up or down anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say about coincidences?
Well, in the last episode, there were a couple of things that just kind of came together, like horse and carriage, like hail and pace, and just themes, I guess. Cactus. I'm wearing a cactus top, and you said something the other day about coincidences. And I'm doing that slow talking, trying to remember what
trying
you
to rescue
said.
you. I'll tell you what, I tell you how I can rescue you. I think coincidences are one of two things. Quite often, there's a lot of discussion or research around coincidences being not unexpected. So statistically, things happening when you go, oh my God, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
And if you look at it and refined it, it isn't that much of a coincidence. There was a strong likelihood of it happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a strong likelihood of someone buying that T-shirt, so I think that is a proper coincidence.
So rude.
But here's a coincidence on a more formal note. I alluded to my dad's death, and we had the funeral this week, and I spoke in there, and this is going back to celebrations. This is tying in well. So sorry?
My point.
Your point. I used a prop in my speech at his funeral, which was some certificates I'd found from a horticultural show. And I sort of did them in a sort of ironic, humorous phase of my speech, making the point that although my father was a great sportsman, it was other little things that probably gave him as much joy. And he'd kept every one of these certificates. And I was reading through them at the funeral, and it was what I hadn't realised was that the person that awarded him those certificates was in the audience, because one of my relatives had dropped out at the last minute, and my sister had invited someone from the Horticultural Society who I didn't know was there.
That's amazing.
So I'm holding up and I went, so my dad had first place in scarecrow competition, brackets, adult class. And you think like...
So he made one, he didn't dress up as one.
Yeah. Worst dressed horticulturalist. And I'm pleased it was adult class. I can imagine my dad being quite competitive and entering the 7 to 12 age group. So he won the scarecrow. He was second in any fruit, in brackets, not classified. I don't know what an unclassified fruit is.
Vegetables not,
maybe a piece of Lego.
Not known to man. Yeah. So no one looked at it and went, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Unclassified.
It's a house brick, but but I grew it.
No, it's not.
It's a house brick fruit. Yeah. And then he won... Oh yeah.
Was there any pictures of these? Of
the certificates?
No, of the... I just wondered if there's any reference to what he won with.
No. Okay. That will remain... Well, it's going to be too late to ask. So the third thing that he did was 6 climbing beans, in brackets, not runner. And I'm thinking, what else climbs other than runner beans? Unless he trained some, like in a Mexican dancing bean, and he trained it to climb. A small gymnastic bean, perhaps.
Acrobatic bean.
Again, still not going to be asked. And the final one, which I said to the congregation was, and the one that's probably causing him the most consternation, was second prize in 3 sticks of rhubarb. My dad was like well into rhubarb, and I can imagine he had his 3 there, and he was probably gloating. And some bugger came and, I don't know, using too much horse manure or grow more, has just taken that from my dad.
Bet he was furious.
I don't think he was happy. I mean, there is slight tears and tear stains on that certificate.
Oh.
But no, I think it was around the bit I was saying about coincidences after I'd...
So did he come up and introduce himself as...
No, my sister had asked him, he'd written an email going, if there's any way I can get to the funeral, please let me be there. And we'd gone like, there isn't any way, only 30 people. One of my relatives dropped out, and so he was invited, and he said, can I speak? So he said, yeah. And as he gave his speech, which was a very quick speech, he just said, he was reading it because he was quite nervous. He was reading it note by note, and he went, and just to say, Mike really did enjoy his certificates when I used to present it, and looked at me as if to go, how dare you go fruit unclassified. But it was a lovely tie-in.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
we
that's
hadn't
nice,
planned it. And the
that's
same
really
guy that had given the certificates to my dad that I'd alluded to, and he came up afterwards
great.
and he went, that meant the world to him. Those certificates were... So I think that it ties in a couple of things. Our celebration thing. It doesn't have to be big gestures. But if that's meant, you know, to a sportsman that holds massive records in terms of try scoring England trials. I also found out in the funeral, he was approached by 2 rugby league teams to turn professional. Never deemed to tell me in his whole life that he'd been approached to play rugby professionally. But yeah, those certificates meant that much. I think is that's coincidence, isn't it? That
I think
was
so.
tied together.
Yeah, the nice ones. We didn't clap the end of our last episode.
Is that going to be our way out there, isn't it?
We shouldn't record that. No, when we hit stop, we're just sitting here, you know, chest bumping and clapping each other out.
I don't think we come across as like whoopers.
No, I don't think so.
No.
We don't have any apologies because we're perfect.
Yeah, and because there's only been 17 minutes since we last spoke. And that time we haven't done anything wrong.
No, well, not that we know of. I mean, I could check the inbox.
Do you think?
Do you think that'd be part of a coincidence if I now checked the...
Well,
wouldn't that be absolutely glorious if so you can hear me clicking,
which just shows that we're not making this up.
Yeah, it's real.
It's one from Texas, am I right? Hi, you all.
We've got one from Instagram saying there's a new login to Instagram.
Okay, would that be you?
Yeah, it would be.
Okay.
I realised that the other day actually, that my text message app these days is just full of 2-factor authentications and codes from Amazon, and no one actually texts me anymore.
No.
I mean, your actual text message app just full of those things.
Yeah.
You know, you've been, you know, you've got a spam email, or it feels it's kind of odd, isn't it? That our phones our lives are full of notifications about. I mean, I would think notifications, alerts, 2FA pretty much fills up.
Most of I'm just looking as you speak, but yeah, it's funny how text has gone. I remember, and we're going to come on. This is yet another link. This is seamless. One of the things when we're going to talk about retro suites, we're going to talk about the generation gap, aren't we?
Yes.
Or what is a generation gap?
Yeah.
And I can remember being working for probation in an office in St Paul's and getting a note from IT saying you've exceeded your monthly allowance of 300 emails. And the probation service had a limit on how many, and basically, and it's the same with text, wasn't it? You were paying for every one.
That's right.
You bought 100.
Now you don't even think about, you know, that, do you?
No.
I've got to slow down on the text. I'm going to blast my text limit.
And I wonder whether it actually made your texts more conversational. If you're actually, number one, paying for them, that you put a value. If they're limited, you're not going to put... Cause,
that's it. Yeah, you're right. I've just immediately thought of photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 26, or what is it, 28 or 36 exposure film?
Yeah.
And, you know, now we're just blasting photos like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Filling some server in California like there's no tomorrow. And we leave the pocket shots on there, don't we? I mean, we don't even get rid of stuff now.
Well,
there was a time when
it's full.
Yeah, but there was a time when you wouldn't wait. You're at a party, you wouldn't just sit there banging through either banging through film. You wouldn't take a bag of film with you anywhere. I've just got 4,000 shots I've now got to go and process at Snappy Snaps.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't.
No.
I guess the value, because that costs money. So you were like, I can't remember the amount, 24 to 36. I can't remember which. There's two, wasn't there?
Yeah. 24 or 36. Yeah.
Yeah, and you would use them sparingly. You think of all those great memories that we just haven't recorded because we were worried about. That you just reminded me of that. I guess the value, if you're paying for something, you kind of a bit more, use it a bit more sparingly. But photos don't cost us anymore.
No. And so we just take a lot of rubbish.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, again, going on the generational thing, I think a lot of people in sort of late teens, early 20s will almost use taking the best. So they'll take the 36 that we took, and our 36 is going to sum up a holiday. and their 36 is summing up one pose or one look or one meal. And then it'll be which is the best of those 36, which in a way is like the old days, because when you got 36 back, half of them were shit, weren't they? You always made mistakes, or you didn't put the flash on. Or...
But my dad used to do slideshows of our holidays.
Yeah.
We used to love that. It used to be quite an event.
Okay.
And you realise that, think about now how much film he took, and then I think I don't know whether he just got it put straight to slide, and then almost when he got the slides back. Then
I did that.
I don't
when I used
remember
to travel, we get it as a slide because it's a higher quality, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't ever remember him curating those and then go, right, I'm going to put those 150 to slide.
Yeah.
And wow the family. I think we're just looking at some with just a seagull in the corner, we had a big screen in the dining room, and he projected. So some, thinking about it, some were just sky and or ground, and then us. Oh, look at us, So it just took me back then thinking about that. People don't do that anymore, do they?
They don't. They should, but they don't.
And they'll click, or you get to the end of the carousel, you have to change it. That was quite exciting. So what's the next one's going to...
More sky.
Yeah. Or I haven't appeared on any of the pictures yet. What are you saying?
He loves the others more than me.
I'm pretty sure I was there.
The slideshows were just punishment for your parents saying how much they hated you.
Yeah, how much you appeared in the slideshow.
27 seagulls.
Yeah. So we can jump on to work-life ballet, talking about exactly that, the generation, retro suites. So we're just kind of talking about it when we off air again, about actually there's not a huge age gap between us.
No, I think there is a huge age gap between us.
Oh, is that what you were saying? Well, clearly wasn't
the point.
Well, I don't think it. Well, maybe that's. I don't think it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't feel it, depending on maybe the context of what you're talking about.
I think what I'm saying, the point I was saying, and obviously we're men of mystery, and it's just like
international men of mystery.
The whole illusion about who we are and where we've come from is just going to be seeped out gently over the next 200 episodes. But I made the point that if I had been a fairly virile teenager, I could have been your father.
Yeah, and then I had a panic.
Yeah,
thinking you were going to reveal something on it.
I'm not.
On it.
Little did you know. What is it? Eamon Andrews coming in. This is your life.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, you haven't seen in 40 years.
So the point I was making was that I mentioned Bazooka Joe chewing gum / bubblegum to you, and you just looked to me as if to go,
what are you talking about?
Are you on about?
Yeah.
And after we had that discussion, I spoke with somebody and I said to them, tell me how big is a generation gap? And they said 10 years. So a generation gap in pure terms is difference between generations, isn't it? So it would be more than 10 years.
I didn't know it had actually had a figure.
Well, it does in terms of it's a generation of a family, isn't it? You go from grandfather, father,
so averages 10 years, does it, I guess?
Well, no. The difference between you and your father in age is going to be the same in the difference near enough as your father and your grandfather. So that's the generation, isn't it? That's how I'm looking at it in terms of families.
I don't know the answers to that.
But what this person was saying, which I agree with, is if it's 10 years, it's almost like, generally speaking, if someone is 10 years older or 10 years younger than you, or more than 10 years, they're going to be from a different generation. Their music and upbringing and everything's going to be different.
Yeah.
So the point I was saying to you at the beginning off air was, I've had 16, 17 years of existence that you didn't have. So you might have heard of it, but you haven't lived through those 16
I haven't had
17.
Yet.
Yes. Well, with Bazooka Joe, you never will have, because they're not going to be brought back again.
So do you want to talk about Bazooka Joe?
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at our
How did it even come up? I can't remember what we were talking about when you mentioned, because you got very excited. You were jumping up and down.
Superpowers.
Of course, we're talking about superpowers, yeah.
So, okay, this is worth a really quick intro.
It is.
I apologise to you. In podcast number 4, I think, 3 or 4, I was talking about not getting my degree. And you said not all heroes wear capes, which was really clever.
Did I say? I'm not even sure I said it quite succinctly. I think no, you said I don't wear capes.
I don't wear a cape or a silly hat for anybody.
For anybody.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah.
And I just talked over you thinking my next riposte was going to be funnier, which it wasn't. So I learned a lesson there that sometimes your nuggets are quite quiet. So I need
to bring my nuggets into this.
Well, nuggets are actually retro sweets as well.
Okay.
golden nuggets. They used to come in a little drawstring bag. They were very hard bubblegum covered in gold.
Right.
Anyway, so, well, they were breakfast cereal as well, but that's by the by.
Come on, back on track. Come on.
Someone said I go off on tangents.
Bazooka Joe.
Bazooka Joe. So, I said to you, when we're talking,
Just remembered.
when we're talking about superpowers,
Yeah.
I don't know why people go invisibility.
If people were to choose the classic, what if you could have a superpower, what would you have?
Yeah, and about a third of people choose it. And we decided, and again, I tend to do a lot of research after we've discussed something to see whether it's just us thinking the same things. So I spoke to a couple of people and said, okay, is invisibility a superpower? And we worked out, basically, the only advantage would be either voyeurism.
Yes.
In fact, that was the only one. You couldn't actually do
Looking
anything.
at people in the nude.
Yeah. I can't see any other...
I mean, of course, you can sit there and listen to have people having conversations about you.
Yeah, which again is probably not a superpower. That's probably going to be...
But I always think, what do I do? And I think I get kind of really kind of naughty and think, oh, I just, when the till pops open at Tesco, and you just see
you could steal some money. Yeah, I guess.
That's a bit tight, isn't it?
The other question was, does everything become invisible when you touch it? Because you could be doing something with your invisible hand. No, I mean like stealing from a till. Your mum's listening, for God's sake. You could be doing something with your hand, and if the object, like a till, doesn't become invisible, or the money doesn't become invisible, there's just going to be money.
Oh, you see money floating in the air, that kind of... I always think about how would you turn on the superpower? So I've seen some films years ago. I think it's called Earthbound. It's just popped in my head, where they held their breath and they disappeared.
Okay.
How would you enable that?
Yeah. I don't. I mean,
because the panic is if you're invisible and you're kind of in the the old changing rooms having a little bit of
changing rooms. What came up? Yeah. Top shop.
Yeah. There's that fear that you will suddenly appear again.
Yeah.
And get caught. So I always think how if it was holding your breath and then you couldn't hold it any longer, you'd have to quickly sneak off, go, and then come back and disappear again.
Yeah.
Am I thinking about this too much?
I think if you're worrying about
how,
I think you need to worry more about how you can become invisible rather than getting found out in top shop changing rooms. However, I do have a solution to your problem, which is on my phone. So I'm just going to read this out. Sensational scientific marvel. It's an invisible helmet. So you're asking the how. I really wish this was
a visual medium.
So I'm just going to, this is from the 50s, and there's a sort of comic strip at the side with a young lad, not unlike yourself, actually, if you look at him, a younger you.
Yeah, Ginge.
And he's got what looks like a small dustbin in his hands. And the first words are, put it on. In the second one, he puts this small dustbin over his head, and it says, now, you can see people, they can't see you. And the third one has an attractive young lady and an attractive young boy looking at him as if to go, who is that person? It's basically the person with a bucket on his head. And this was sold, and it says, this is magic. You put on this helmet and nobody can tell who you are. It's a bucket that you put on your head, but you can see everybody and everything. So it's a bucket.
There's a little bit of truth in the fact they can't see your head.
They can't see your head, but they can see your body. So this is how good this discovery is. This sensational discovery is as new as the hydrogen bomb. It's lovely that a bucket on your head can be compared with a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah. Which probably only a few years before obliterated
Hiroshima.
Yeah. Talk about taste.
As exciting as a ride through space. So,
I mean, fair play to the marketing guys. I mean, they've turned on the taps here, haven't they?
Okay, so it's hard to do. This is a difficult question for you. So this is from America. I think it's from the 50s. This miracle disguise can be yours for, and bearing in mind postage was paid. Yeah. What are you thinking?
What, 50s you say?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's in the cents.
It's $1.98.
Wow.
So it's a Tom Corbett Space Cadet Cosmic Vision helmet. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone beat you. Be the first. use the coupon below or be sorry. It's a little bit harsh.
I can use this for our podcast advertising.
Yeah.
Listen or be sorry.
Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back, 5 days.
Good. I can imagine the returns department working overtime.
Bearing in mind it's post-paid, they're going to lose money sending it back. And the final bit is fool your friends. Put this on. No one can recognize you. It is a bucket.
Yeah.
Yet you can see everybody else, a bucket with a hole. Boys and girls, men and women. And you see what they are doing. So we're now getting into wear this in Topshop.
Yeah.
Be envied by everyone. You will have fun! Exclamation mark. So it is just voyeurism, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
You will be the hero of your town. So
That's good.
I don't know if it's too late to order.
Because I thought that was when you sent that to me. I thought that was Bazooka, but that was just a completely. How did you find that when you were researching?
I researched Bazooka because I got X-ray specs. From Bazooka
we haven't
Joe.
we haven't talked about what Bazooka Joe is.
So Bazooka Joe with a chewing gum had a small comic in it. Bazooka Joe would be the hero.
What kind of sweet was it?
It was a very poor chewing gum bubble gum. It was called I think it was called bubble gum, but you couldn't. So you would have got
a gobstopper kind of thing. Round.
Well, no, like bubble gum. You're thinking of a gobstopper.
Okay, yeah, but
a chunk of chewy.
Okay, all right.
Anyone from our generation know that Anglo bubbly was what you would have. You wouldn't go for Bazooka Joe. You'd go for those for the prizes. So anyway, Bazooka Joe had X-ray
This is right
specs.
on target audience, I must admit, in terms of our demographic.
What? People that would like to be invisible?
Yeah. No, 40. I think our demographic is, our age demo is 45 to 59.
This will get things in our mailbag. When I've said Anglo bubbly was the best, I was
thinking they'll be all over it. Yeah.
There'll be a flood. So basically I saved up the comics from Bazooka Joe and got a pair of X-ray specs that allows you to see through anything.
Right.
And I've just looked this up under Retro Streets, and the actual advert is a child with X-ray specs with an image of a woman in a negligee. And obviously it says it lets you see everything.
Yeah, but they couldn't go the full. So that is saying that if
you wore them,
you can see just through one layer of clothing.
Yeah.
But not beyond their underwear.
Well, if they were just negligeed,
you'd see below that. Is that what it's?
I think
do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, the picture I think was like had something on underneath.
Because they couldn't just have a naked lady, could they?
No, but to give you a pair of glasses that allow you to see women naked was actively encouraged in America in the 60s.
Yeah,
they didn't work that well. So
what could you see through them?
Just everything was just like a little bit blurry.
Right, you just had to kind of just imagine really hard. What a naked lady looked like.
Yeah. Or look in the, what was it, Grattan catalogues.
Yeah.
That was the sort of internet of the day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You could choose something for Christmas and then look at.
Yeah, I'm just looking at spaceships and Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Oops.
So anyway, that's Bazooka Joe. So that was the retro suites. And I think the point I was making with the generation gap is even now I'm talking in an entertaining and humorous way, you're still not feeling that was part of your life.
No, not.
Like I can actually taste the Bazooka Joe now. It had a very limited taste life.
Right.
So I think it's that bit. Retro sweets, I think, for people of a certain age, like my age. But I'm wondering whether
in our minds.
I'm wondering whether the word retro shifts in terms of generations. I would warrant, when we see from our mailbag this week, that people aged between 50 and 59 will come up with things like sweet cigarettes and sweet tobacco and lucky bags.
Yeah.
3D lucky bags. I don't know. 3D is like old money when the world was in black and white.
Right.
So a D was like when there was 140 pennies to a pound. Right. So 1D was one penny.
You're really old, aren't you?
Really old. I've even seen farthings.
I think you're older than I thought you were.
Than time itself. So these lucky bags was a bag. Ironically, going back to Burger King, that you didn't have to pay bloody 5p for.
But Burger King wasn't around in your day.
No, wimpy. So going back to the lucky bag was a paper bag that had a whole selection of exciting things in. But bearing in mind this is 1.5p, it wasn't probably as lucky as you'd expect. The point
What's the lucky bit?
You're lucky if you got anything in it.
Just bought a bag.
Anything worthwhile. Right. The point I'm making is I think for people aged between 50, it's sweeping generalisation, which I'm good at, between 50 and 59, I think people will look back fondly as sweets being a major event in their life. Going to the shops to get sweets.
Yeah.
I think in later years, there might be people in their 20s listening to this who have bought sweets, but it wouldn't be seen. If you want sweets, you go into Tesco's and get a massive bag of whatever you want. Whereas in that day, you had a limited amount of money, a limited selection. So you remembered everything in the shop.
Yeah.
It was like you had a choice of 4 chocolate bars. And what I'm warranting is that in your age, that sweets and that sort of small scale stuff became less important in your generation. There might have been other things that you would have spent your money on.
Maybe.
It isn't just about retro sweets, it's about a whole number of other things. So one of the things that I think is interesting is in my childhood, Sunday night was bath night. So you had 1 bath a week.
Yeah.
And that was Sunday night.
In a tin bath in front of the fire.
Yeah, all 20 of us. The
neighbours as
came
well.
in. That's why I look forward to Sundays. And we'd listen to the chart show, and the charts were really important.
On wireless.
And then that was followed by something called Sing Something Simple. If you're ever going to think of a name for a radio program, Sing Something Simple, it's quite a...
Yeah.
You're not aspirational, are you?
No.
There is nothing complicated or interesting about this. Anyway, the point I'm making is, in my generation... I've totally lost this. What was I going to say? Music. Okay. So in my generation, I would listen to the chart show and then my parents would listen to Radio 2.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in most houses. And there'd be 1 or 2 houses where the parents were a little bit more bohemian and they would listen to Bowie or something else. Now, the music I listen to is the same as my children. I don't think there's generational gaps in music to the same degree there was. It used to be very much, if you're of a certain age, you listen to this. And now I think music has become so universal. There isn't divisions. So late 70s, you might have goths, you might have punks, you might have mods, you might have rockers, and people identified to a group. And you are loyal to that group in terms of fashion, in terms of music.
Yeah.
And if you walk down the high street in Bristol, you would see groups of people that identified with those groups.
And I guess, you would know where you belong.
Yeah.
You know who to avoid and who to go and hang out with.
Yeah, and you would literally follow groups around. So a pub would be a punk band. I think the point I'm making now is if you go down to the shopping centre, there'll be parents and children buying the same clothes. Somewhere like ubiquitous Superdry. You can be 18, you can be 88, and people go into Superdry and buy their hoodies.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, if you're 18, you would dress in a certain way. Your parents would not go into the same shops.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether the generation gap has been diluted to almost not being a thing anymore.
Yeah.
That there isn't any sort of boundaries between age.
Is it just, because when anything starts out, isn't it? There's only one of them. It's just it's progress, arguably, isn't it? Or not, depending on how you look at it. But
in terms of what, when you say something starting...
music especially, like a lot of and fashion is derivative. You kind of, when you get into the 50s and 60s, the references get smaller. So you've got the Little Richards.
Oh, yeah. And there's not much to choose from.
And Presley, and then the big bands, Stones, Beatles, followed them. And then, do you know what I mean? There wasn't, of course, there was their acts at that time, but there wasn't the amount of acts. There might have been, we just didn't hear of them. So again, media and culture's got a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Then over time, it's just there's more channels, there's more music, there's more of everything, and everything's kind of getting almost like a family tree. Everything's getting kind of divided up, generations. Every generation, it just splits again, doesn't it, and multiplies. And you can't have, you go from kind of 4 subcultures.
Yeah.
Don't you, to
200.
Yeah, you can't have that, and it will just become, I want to say, homogenized. Is that the right word?
I think it is homogenized. Yeah. Yeah.
It becomes one, like you said, universe. It becomes one big mass
happy family.
But there's almost not really, unless you're you still have mods, you still have rockers, you still have goths, you have, I guess you have emo now. There are still genres and division and subcultures,
but the subculture
they're just not
isn't
quite
mainstream.
as defined.
If you see what I mean, and you could say, well, a subculture isn't going to be mainstream; it's going to be a subculture. But was it? Punk was arguably mainstream at the time, wasn't it? Although it wasn't. It was kind of going against mainstream, but Pistols became mainstream. Arguably, they became the thing they were fighting against. Arguably, Yeah,
Is that fair?
Totally.
So,
yeah. And Malcolm McLaren, I followed Malcolm McLaren from my punk days. I sort of stuck with him this is something I need to go and find out. Now I've mentioned to you, I will. With my pocket money, I went into Virgin Superstore, and there was an LP that had Malcolm McLaren talking to his mum with a budgie in the background.
All right.
And I bought it with my sister-in-law, who at the time was about 12, and we started playing, and we played it at Sunday lunch, and it was just effing and jeffing the whole way through. But it was basically Malcolm McLaren in discussion.
Right.
So when the Pistols, who weren't around for very long at all, their influence way outweighed their productivity. Yeah. He was a very, very clever person, and so he set up other bands like Bow Wow Wow. And so I sort of continued to follow him and saw Bow Wow Wow a lot. But the point I'm making is, you're right, that it did become mainstream because punk became news. But the point I'm making was that on a typical bank holiday, I would sometimes go down to Weston for the fights, like they were back in the day at Quattrofina in Brighton and other places. Yeah. And when you would go down, there would literally be this parade of subcultures, and you would choose basically who you aligned to. And there would either be a fight, or there would just be people parading and showing off their allegiance to fashion. And obviously something like the mods on their scooters were very different to the punks. But I feel now that if somebody is outwardly one of those subcultures, it's almost like a little bit geeky or a little bit... Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whereas niche. Of the day, you'd go down and there'd be thousands of people sort of almost actively portraying what they were, actively showing what their beliefs are. Now, everybody now is homogenized. That's a sweeping generalization. But if you go to a place, do you know what I mean? If you go to a shopping centre, or if you go to, even like back in the day, going to football, you would see groups of skinheads, or you would see groups of punks, or whatever you happen to see. Whereas now I don't think there's going to be an uprising. And you sort of think, well, the uprising in the 70s was in some ways a backlash against some of the music that was around at the time, and regaining ground for youngsters, which rock and roll's always been. But I'm wondering now if I can't see there being a movement. I can't think a load of 15, 16-year-olds getting so excited about seeing the Ramones that...
But in terms of moods, music's a big part of our lives, isn't it? And it's very mood driven. The calmer I want to become, the harder and faster the music I listen to, which some people find a little bit strange.
Okay,
I can find it. Maybe it's a bit going back to my brother and his strimmer, and our family. We need lots of kind of noise to kind of calm us down or something. I don't know, but I don't. Calm music stresses me right out.
Okay,
which isn't the like spa music. Is not relaxing to me.
No.
So I could have a relaxing massage listening to, Pennywise or something, some kind of American speed metal, do you know what I mean? That could actually kind of find that quite soothing. And so some of the stuff where you put on when you train, some things I can train, sometimes I'm like, I can't, although they're quite, I guess they'd fall into the typical motivational music, but I can't get into it.
I do try hard with music. I haven't recently because I've not been into music myself, which I find really
that's
quite
another
upsetting.
thing, isn't it? When you love it and sometimes you just not hitting the mark.
Nothing works at the moment. And I was saying to you earlier, one of the things, and I think this is interesting in terms of mental health, is that obviously there's a supportive nature of music, but I think the danger is, and this is something that I found, is that I use music to accentuate the mood I'm in, good or bad. So if I am in not a good place, the music tends to reflect that, which then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because the music encapsulates that emotion and increases it.
So you never put it on to change it, you put it on to enhance the one you're already in.
Which, again, when you're happy, well, God forbid I should ever be happy, but if I'm anything approaching...
It's a short playlist, that one.
But, if I'm playing music that I find uplifting, it'll be because I am in an uplifted place. So and I think in some ways the power of music should be the difference to that. It should be actually, if you're not feeling so good, put on something.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what we said last week. If you're in a down place, me going sprinting isn't going to get rid of that down place.
That's it. There's nothing anything or anyone can do.
No.
That's odd, isn't it? Something you really like, isn't it? Where you just can't even. Sometimes I just kind of enjoy quiet, even in the car. I always, generally have something on, podcast or music, but sometimes I will purposely turn everything off, even the fan down, so it's not making any noise.
Yeah,
drive quietly under the speed limit. I think because I need, that is more powerful than a bit peace and quiet.
I mean,
I thought I'd say that, but that's a theme.
You're not selling the podcast. I think there is that bit, and as I say, because recently I'm finding that music isn't creating emotion in me, so I don't listen to it. I think it's made me realise how important music's been in my life. So I think I've mentioned to you that I'm trying to write this book, and I'm struggling because I don't know whether it's the perfectionist thing. I'm trying to make it as real as possible. So I think I've mentioned to you, I'm going back to every gig I went to in 1980 and trying to find proof that it existed.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
It was
your own sanity.
It was a hard year, and I think one or two things have got contorted in the twists of.
Is that something you do when you if you tell a tale sounds like it's not true, but if you regale a story, do you use someone that kind of embellishes that over time, or do you say it so many times? Or I'm not saying you're
No, I bullshit lots. Yeah.
And then after a while, do you then forget actually what was true?
Yeah. So your memory of event is the last time you record it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the last telling of a story becomes your reality.
Your own Chinese whispers,
you don't then, yes, exactly. You don't correct and go, actually, I know I've been telling everyone this for years, but the truth was. So there's two things that are interesting. One, I'm going to set you your homework. I believe I saw U2 in Cowardine's Coffee House in, I can't remember what month, I think it's February or March, 1980 in Bristol. And I've got some evidence that they were there and some evidence that they weren't.
Were you with anyone? Can anyone vouch for your
presence? I wasn't with anyone.
Evening?
The crowd was about 8 people, so there's not many people. So that's number one. That's something, my last memory, because I've told this story.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's true. I couldn't contest that was true. I couldn't. I feel it is. I believe it is. And some of the research I've done even said there's urban myth that U2 visited Bristol in 1980. And there's something from a forum from a guy going, I was at that gig.
Yeah, okay.
And there was 8 of us.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, so that's number one. Number two, and this is the interesting thing, and I think this is the bit around memory being the last recollection of that story, the last telling, is that, again, U2 based. I believed, wholly believed, that when I was in Sheffield, I went to UB40 at City Hall. Mm-hmm. And if you went to UB40, you got a ticket to see U2 for 50 pence in a nightclub straight after the gig. And basically, everyone went to see UB40 because they were so big at the time. Yeah. Red wine and all that. Mm-hmm. And no one went to U2, and there's about 30 of us there. So this was my story. I think it's quite an interesting story that you could see those two.
You went to the gig.
I went to UB40, and then I went to see U2.
You bought the ticket for 50p and went to.
Yeah, there's about 30 of us there, and we were drinking with the band afterwards. That's my recollection. So in my research,
and I've got an idea for a song, lads. Starts with.
What you need to do, I've got this idea it's called Band-Aid. What you need, have a word with Ultravox and Bob Geldof.
Yeah, I've got this riff. Think of the word Sunday in it.
Yeah. Just keep repeating. Be a little bit political.
Yeah.
So that was my story, and that was told and regaled many times.
Can you remember any things? I've read Billy Connolly's biography. What's a biography? Booze is featured heavily in his stories, and when he was talking about recollections and memories and his drink, not problem. He probably wouldn't have called it a problem when he's having a good time. I think he kind of said to someone, "I've always wanted to meet Jimi Hendrix," and someone close to him went, "You did," and he has no recollection of it.
Okay,
and I think that's just reminded me of that. You probably had a drink with Bono. You think you did, but can you have any recollection of that?
I don't have proof. I have recollection in my mind. I can visualise me standing at a bar with him, but that could have been because this story has been told. But the point of the story is, going back to the point about memory being the last recollection, is that with this book, I've then gone away and did this ever happen? And I've been able to contact a forum of some people that went to gigs in Sheffield when I was up there, and UB40 did play City Hall,
right,
and U2 did play the Limit Club, and there was only about 30 people at
okay,
U2.
so you've okay,
but there was a 3-week gap between the two, the two events.
and there was no ticket for 50p.
Yeah, no, the ticket was free. That was the surprising thing. It was actually free for members.
It's not that wild.
No,
is it?
But it has changed. That 3-week gap has.
Yeah.
But I can physically remember leaving City Hall and doing the short walk to see U2. Do you know what I mean?
It's a better story.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's more.
And when you're telling stories, it's not relevant how much time went between those two things, was it?
No.
It's just.
But yeah, I think that's the thing. So I think that getting back to you were saying about moods and music, you've almost downplayed your sort of music at the moment. You've alluded to scaring Joe in the cafe. And you did your little. Oh, someone told me, is it a paradiddle?
Yeah, I did. Have you had some feedback on that? Have you?
Someone said, I heard Damien.
And my rudiments.
Is it paradiddle?
It is a paradiddle.
She said, I just looked at her vaguely, not knowing what it was. I think that was Kelly again. Cleaner Kelly.
Okay.
I think she mentioned the paradiddle. Someone did.
Right. Our one listener.
But no, I mean, I think I was going to ask you the question. You're much more. I mean, you're not in the industry, but you're in a band.
I'm very well connected.
So, how important is music for you in terms of mood? How cathartic is?
I think that just on going on what you were saying, it is odd when suddenly you find that you can't listen to anything, even the stuff you absolutely adore.
Have you done that as well then?
Recently, I just.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like I think I have sometimes this thing where any stimulus, I just can't bear. Whether that's music, whether that's.
Oh, cool. We haven't discussed this then, have we? Really?
I don't think so. We're not here.
Okay.
So there's sometimes, it's happened to me recently where I kind of just gone up. There's a period I used to listen to quite a lot of podcasts, and the reason I've been listening to them is because we started one. But there's a point where I listen to a lot of. I just kind of binge on that, and then don't have anything for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then just can't even the stuff I love, I can't listen to. So, but then I've just started picking that stuff up again, and listening to. I guess reminiscing, listening to all the stuff I used to listen to when I was younger. Or I've done this thing at work where everyone. Not everybody. I think about 8 people have done their top 100. So you have to pick 100 tracks, and they'll have to be different artists. So essentially, you pick 100 of your favorite artists and pick your favorite song of theirs.
Is work quiet at the moment? Today, guys. Still no. I
did it in my own time. Yeah.
You go in there all hiding scraps of paper.
Culture's very important these days in business. No, it was actually quite an interesting exercise to do. It's quite hard. I think I took outside of work. I think I don't know. It took me 5 hours. Yeah, it's actually I actually do recommend doing that. Have you ever done it?
I do bits.
Have you got just 100, no more, no less? But you basically have to pick the cream of the stuff you like.
The playlist last week that you went, this is a good playlist, and you didn't know I'd done it. Don't do a face like that.
No, because it was good for about 8 songs, and then just
only because Cockney Rebel came in. Which again,
no, because it was like cover, wasn't it? It was
Here Comes the Sun.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a good cover.
Yeah, but
that's why
But Cockney Rebel means nothing to you, does it?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Okay, your dad played.
No, he didn't.
Sing something simple with Cockney Rebel.
Well, music never came from my parents.
No, not mine.
I found it through. It's weird why I always wanted to be a drummer. I don't know where that came from. As long as I can remember. So I don't know where. It could be the Muppets. It's the obvious one to think about. With
Is it Animal?
Yeah.
You're a good drummer.
Huh?
You're a good drummer.
Thank you.
No, are you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Why would I get a compliment from you? Don't even ask how I am.
Yeah, drumming must be easy.
No. Well, it is really.
No, I find it hard to know when I'm listening to. So I've got.
Did you say? Sorry. Am I a good drummer? Are you asking me if I am?
Yeah.
That's not a question.
Okay, not really.
Isn't it?
Ask me if I'm a good runner.
Well, no, exactly. Are you a good runner?
Yeah.
Are you a good PT?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Everything else I'm shit at these two.
I wasn't going to go into anything else.
No.
I don't. That's not for me to answer. That's the difference between us. I was thinking about this the other day. You can take a compliment really well. I can't. Well, that's probably why I was looking for one.
That's because I'm used to them.
I don't normally get them. Yeah, it's a weird one.
I asked you if you're a good drummer purely because I'm not expecting you to either be immodest or to show off, but...
I struggle with that, though.
Really?
It doesn't feel like it's for me to say. I think I've talked about my bar and how I know I can generally always better. I think everyone can better themselves. No one's going to get to the point where they're I'm finished. I'm the complete article. There's nothing left to work on anymore. Can't be true for anybody.
No,
right?
Okay, I'm gonna have to interject. I'm finding this strange. So
What?
Here we go.
Okay.
Are you a good
Is this when you're going to point out a massive contradiction, isn't it? I can feel it.
No, what I'm going to
because I think I am sometimes.
The conclusion I think I'm trying to get to is, apart from your recent speeding debacle, do you consider yourself a good driver?
Yes.
Okay. So where's the difference?
I'm not performing. We come back to this. I'm not driving for any purpose other than to get me from A to B, and I like doing that. I'm not doing it for anyone else.
I think the self-effacing bit of this for me is that I could ask you other questions.
It's
so why would that
I guess it's probably because it's kind of so personal to and kind of creative and expressive, emotive, all those things. Driving isn't it can be, but to a very different. I think any kind of artistry is giving something of yourself over.
Okay, so there's a subjective nature
where I kind of feel, and I like to think that's a good thing. It takes a while to kind of get used to it, but having that tension in a creative pursuit, I think that's what makes we talked about it the other day, the tragic comic, the stand-ups.
Yeah.
The best ones have the tension, whether it's self-doubt, whether it's, whatever it is, a tough upbringing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that constant rutting of emotions, it kind of is what art is all about and artistry is all about.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say driving is a creative pursuit.
Yeah. But then you think, just bearing in mind what this podcast's about, and one of the things is about mental health in terms of, I think firstly, compliments are underused. In terms of, I don't think people tell other people enough that was really good.
I don't. I compliment.
We had this discussion about sometimes people commenting almost factually. So it's
you've had your hair cut.
Yeah,
people do that a lot.
Yeah,
you think is that kind of someone trying to get close to a compliment but can't quite get it out?
Yeah. What do you think of our podcast? You're doing well for doing a podcast.
Yeah, well done for doing.
You were very brave.
Yeah, you can talk and record.
And I think the other problem is because people don't take compliments well. In general, a lot of people don't. But they'll do a caveat to take the compliment down.
Yeah.
So it's like, your hair looks really good, and it'll be, oh, I wish it was a bit longer, but it's not, and I've got a few greys coming through. Yeah, it's like, no, absolutely. Shut up! I'm telling you, your hair looks really good.
Yeah.
So it's.
I think that's what I found with you. Actually, I think I remember coming in a couple of weeks ago saying, "Oh, like your trainers."
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Not, oh, well, these are, yeah. I think I think I do it, and I think a lot of people I know generally will put themselves down. You take a compliment really well. Mm-hmm. I think they're important to you.
You think?
I've
got books,
and this is where I'm. This is why I'm quite. This is why I'm quite contradictory, because I say I don't need them. I don't feel I need them, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're not nice when they happen. But I've also come from a place where I'm not comfortable with them. I guess that's the struggle. But there's a real need for me to create and put out,
and that needs confirmation and
it
assurance.
Does. I guess maybe I've never been good with it. I don't know why.
One of the things I was going to say, this is in terms of like threads, and I like the idea of threads, and we mention them a lot. In terms of things we've talked about in the last few podcasts, we started off. I showed you the text that my good mate had sent me, and finished his leading off was like, "Love you to the fridge and back."
Yeah.
And we talked about, don't just talk for talk's sake, or don't just share something for sharing's sake. Make sure the person you're speaking to is going to help you. And I think all of this is going down the same line. When we were being jokey about the range, and just a collection of words doesn't actually take you anywhere. And in a minute, when we get round to the bit, there's a quote. And the irony is that we've been knocking some quotes and they're all shit because we didn't make them up. But here's one. Here's one that we really like.
Yeah.
But I think the theme that I'm getting from what we're talking about is there are some simple things you can do in life that are basically a basic human need. And affirmation and verification and validation are amongst those things. But I think it's almost like we expect it and we like it when it happens, but we forget to give it the other way.
Yeah.
So when you say my trainers look really good, although it's only a little thing, you weren't just saying it for the sake of it.
No.
I mean, they did look good.
I mean, box fresh.
Box fresh. So,
and you had a haircut at the same time.
Yeah, the whole lot.
You done the top and bottom.
But the point I guess I'm making is that we can sit here and go, it's really nice getting compliments. You might not take them very well. I might take them better. I might not. But then do we then go away in the same way that we were saying about the hydration? What's to stop us? And I don't mean just sort of vaguely going to someone, oh, you look nice. But if you see someone that, you feel that you can make a valid contribution by complimenting them, why don't we do that every day in the same way? How do we find drinking water hard? How do we find it hard to say to someone that would lift them?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with mental health. If you've gone the whole day and no one said anything good about you, it's easy if you're in a bad place to then go, no one loves me.
Yeah, but I think we don't do it enough.
No.
Especially after gigs, always used to be nice when people come up after a gig and go, I really enjoyed that, I'm a drummer, and you have a chat. You go, I get more pleasure in going, I'm a drummer, we start chatting drums, or go, that was kind of good when you did, I don't need anyone to come up and blow smoke up my ass. I don't, actually. I will come away knowing generally what I need to do next time to be better than what I just did. Straight after, I'll be analysing how I could have done X, Y, and Z better.
I think
or how we could have done better as a band collectively or whatever. So there's always work. I guess there's always work to do.
But if you give a compliment that has context rather than you played the drums well, which doesn't really mean anything, but if they say on that second song, that drum solo really moved me. Do you know what I mean? No, I'm not being facetious. Do you know what I mean? If they put the compliment into context. So when I'd spoken at my dad's funeral, a lot of people came up and said, I loved your speech. If I got up for 2 minutes, cried for 90 seconds and said, I really love my dad, I'm going to miss him, people would have come up and said, I loved your speech. The point I'm making is that if the compliment has a context, so if someone said, I loved your speech because it evoked memories that I had of your father when you were talking about him on the beach or doing handstands, the context of the compliment then gives it value. So bringing this to an end, time-wise.
He says, please bring
No, I'm just thinking whether, and this is just being a little bit more proactive and thinking how I am with my clients, I wonder whether you and I, over the next week, could just do a little bit of this, not with each other, actually actively trying to make somebody feel happier, better, more assured, and not just ad-libs like, you look nice, but actually thinking this person could benefit from me recognising what they've done or what they've said or how they've performed. Be interesting to see the feedback of people.
See what we can change.
Yeah.
We've kind of moved it into the drop and give me 20, so we're going to do the appropriate I shouldn't really talk over it, should I? You have a quote. I haven't put it into the mailbag, but I put it into the drop and give me 20 because I think it has something to do with productivity, motivation.
I've advocated mindfulness a lot. It was interesting. Someone came back to me when we did the workout top 5 or bottom 5, whichever way we decided to do them. And someone went, "My God, you've changed." When I had yoga as second,
right?
which was good. It was a nice thing to say in a way. So I've just started off on something called mindfulness-based stress reduction. We've talked about stress before. I don't see stress as a bad thing, but I think the management of stress is important. The point I was making, we've been a little bit flippant about some of the, your Prosecco quotes and your giggles and shits. And I saw a quote that I actually actively found for myself. So when I was going to do the speech, I wanted to have a sense of calmness. I wanted to deliver the speech about my dad in the best way possible. I didn't want it to be emotional. And I know I can control my emotions totally. So I looked at something just to give me that sense of calm, that when I got up there, I knew that I would just deliver it how I wanted it to deliver. There's nothing wrong about being emotional. I just chose not to be emotional at that speech. And there was 2 things. One was, I said to you, there was one particular reference about a minute in, and I knew I would be emotional on that one word. So I preempted it by saying to the people there, this is when I'm going to get a little bit choked up. So I did, and then I moved on. And so there is this element that I'm finding at the moment, that mindfulness has given me that control. So if I want to remain calm, I have the facilities and the ability to remain calm. But it's an active thing. You can't just be calm. So the reason I want to say this quote, and I'm not going to every week go, here's another great quote. 3 people have got back to me on this quote this week and said they've listened to it and made a decision based on this quote, which I think is quite, it's
powerful.
amazing, really. Yeah. And so it's stop trying to calm the storm, calm yourself, the storm will pass. And I just think it's that bit around, I think it's similar to the quotes about, only control those things that you're able to. Very much like the 12-step program. It's, there's elements of the 12-step program for addiction that cover certain elements of being, controlling certain things and not worrying about other stuff. So I guess that's maybe why that is a telling quote. But I think what the people that have done it have forgotten the storm because they can't influence the storm. That's going to happen. That's other people or other circumstances. But if they can look after themselves and make sure they're strong, the other stuff will either pass or they'll be in a better position to deal with it.
Yeah.
And the 3 people, one has been a very emotional one and one has been a very practical one. And both of them have said, I've taken that bit of advice, I've looked after myself, and the storm has basically fought itself out.
Yeah.
It didn't need my intervention. It was going to go. Everything's cyclical.
Yeah.
So, I just like that one.
That was good. Again, we touched on it the other week, didn't we, about sometimes you've just got to let things, happen to you. You can't stop the pain sometimes.
No.
So that's kind of not necessarily fixing it, not making it go away. Like you said, preparing yourself for it.
Yeah.
And, taking it on, I guess. But in a proactive way. Not in a reactive way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like, again, the storm kind of analogy of, boarding up the windows. That's not going to stop the storm.
No.
But it's just going to help you get through it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, just final bit on this, was that, I don't know if it was 2 podcasts or 3, and I was saying something around feeling quite blessed. When we go on about the numbers, I think there's a certain humility about, I'm still amazed that people will listen to us. You just look at the number of podcasts in the world and you think people have got that choice.
Yeah.
And the fact they listen to us is, I don't know, it's a massive compliment, but it's also, I don't know, I can't fail to be surprised. But thinking about that quote is I'm sort of, as we're talking now, thinking that either if someone's listening to this as they're getting off to sleep or someone's listening to this because they're having a hard time, that something like that quote, do you know what I mean? That's almost the quality of this. It isn't trying to get a few laughs. It isn't just trying to tell you which protein. If someone is listening to this and is able to go, right, tomorrow is going to be better for me because of this, then I think that's what we're about.
I think so.
Do you know what I mean? I think our niche is almost changing a little bit to... I thought we were going to be stories of laddish behaviour in strip clubs in Munich, but...
I'm being... Okay.
Oh, that's next.
I just realised I was in that one. I was just like, tell me about that. Oh, yeah, I was there.
So that's next week out the window.
Is that a flashback?
No, but you know what I mean? It's sort of, we've sort of gone down the line based a little bit on feedback, and this has almost found its own level. And I think the level is about a bit of quiet self-help, I suppose.
You're talking about that quote reminds me of we have a Pinterest. Any Pinteresters out there? We've been collecting some, and you look at that. There's a quote for everything, isn't there? And the Instagram's full of quotes. I like to think that this is kind of about taking. If you can take one thing, if you don't take anything from it, it's okay.
Yeah.
But if you can take one thing from it, then like I said, our work here is done. That's kind of where we're at. I
was going to come up with a sharp one-liner there to be funny.
When I was being serious.
Yeah, I just realised I think it was the thing I was saying to you about the yew trees. Instead of looking at the yew trees, I was listening to you.
What were you thinking about?
No, I think it was, I said the other day about someone who was like sharing something with me and then sort of chucks in some sort of reference to almost like take away the seriousness of what they were saying. Yeah. And I think I almost fell into it then. I'm listening to you saying quite profound words and I was going to go, have you heard the one about,
It's 2 guys down a pub, isn't it?
Yeah. But you don't always have to end on a laugh, I guess.
No, you don't.
We rarely do.
It's very true. We can end on your jingle. It's your jingle.
It's no Drowning Monkeys. What were they?
What? The band that has so kindly given us our
Johnny,
theme.
Isn't it?
Johnny, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Johnny.
And the Monkey Fighter. Or Monkey Fighters,
yeah. Drowning Monkeys.
I'm glad he's going to be delighted that you've forgotten the name already.
I got half of it right.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
It is it.
Yeah.
Another day, another dollar.
Yeah, you can listen to us. I'm not going to go through the list now. You
No,
can
don't
listen
go
to
through the
us
list.
on all the main
Providers.
platforms. You can search for I'm Fine, and we're going to pop up. So don't have to talk about that anymore. So well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening. All links and references to what we've been talking about in this episode will be in our show notes. And please give us a follow and leave comments on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just find us on the username at I'm Finecast. Send us an email. We keep talking about email.
I'd love correspondence.
Yeah,
I'm needy.
as well. Yeah, you do need. You want some compliments?
I wouldn't mind the complete opposite. Someone going, "You're a bit of a wanker." Then it's still
okay.
The way my head
Is it
works.
that thing where,
any attention's good attention.
If we're going to be remarkable, we need someone to remark.
Yeah.
Right. You can email us at imfinecast@gmail.com. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about how come we don't know our bodies. Are we kind of taking our clothes off?
I think we will. I think we could do a naked podcast.
I don't think I'd be comfortable with it. You'd be comfortable with that.
I've told you about my photograph, haven't I? I have told you. Okay. Show notes for next week. I'll tell you about my naked photograph. It's not going to surprise you, is it?
No, I mean most of your Instagram, you haven't got any clothes on anyway. So I'm just trying to get you some followers.
Those days have changed. No, when we discussed this very quickly.
Is this a tease for next episode?
Yeah, tease for next. One of the things when we're talking about the protein powder, we don't know what's going in our body. I've been doing a little bit of research and I'm thinking we don't actually know how our body works. And so, next week is going to be proper science for someone who's got a D in combined chemistry and physics, who knows his stuff. I know this is more biology.
And a dubious master's in human resources.
Well, I'm basically a scientist. If
is that what you are? You might be a doctor and you might have done
I was in Sheffield a long time. No, the point I'm going to make is I think we don't know our bodies. We don't know how our body works. We don't know what's happening within our body. We don't know what happens when our body ages, which I think is going to be a key thing for feedback we had before. So, I want to have something in there about people understanding how your body works and how you can make it work better.
Yeah. I think that this might kind of tie in, but I'm quite interested on how we listen to our bodies. Okay. So there's knowing. I think we take a lot of things for granted. I think you can listen. Mm-hmm. I've tried to listen and be in tune. Mm-hmm. I might even have a story about my guts.
Oh yeah, you hinted at that before.
Yeah, I did. If anyone wants to,
that
might need a health kind of
Mark naked in public.
Health warning. Yeah, it might be quite a very explicit episode.
It is. Parental advisory.
Yeah, that is it.
Great. Loved it.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Bye.